So the War Memorial Cultural Centre was originally conceived in 1936, but the war intervened. So after 1945, there were two things happened. One was that the city wanted to build a war memorial, and the second thing was the Pope donation to the city, a very fabulous collection of books, artwork. So Roland Pope was an ophthalmologist in Sydney. He was a book collector and art collector. He used to travel with the Australian cricket team. He used to hang out with Bradman and all those guys in England. I think he had a pretty good time. When he travelled, and they travelled on ship, he'd be able to bring back heaps and heaps of items from England, including the girl bird books that we have in the collection. In 1945, he decided to hand over the collection to Newcastle. One of the provisos of the city taking that collection was that we built a building to house it.
A group of local people got together and said, we need this.
The committee planning the new Community Cultural Centre includes a senior union official and a steelworks executive, besides representatives of all other sections of the community.
So it originally held the Conservatorium of Music, the reference library, the art gallery and various other things for the city.
A place where art and literature and culture and music can all come together was the idea that Newcastle didn't always have to be a coal town or a steel town or an industrial town.
There was a lot of fundraising in the community, grassroots funding.
It was done by a collaboration of about 3 or 4 different architectural firms that donated their services.
It became a hybrid and they brought in the best bits of everybody's design. So it's quite an eclectic building because it's got lots of ideas coming into it from each of those architects.
So they produce a modernist facade with beautiful terracotta faience tile as its main feature on the facade.
They used local builders. The only thing that probably wasn't local was the steel, because it was so close after the war, so we had to import the steel.
In the Cultural Centre, there was a competition for a major sculpture and a design was selected and the sculptor was Lydon Dadswell. But there was a great controversy about the design. Some people felt that it was too unrealistic and too modern, wasn't a proper representation of human form.
Some of the councillors called it a monstrosity. It was there to frighten naughty boys. The thing that the Ladies Auxiliary was really keen on is that it showed the service and sacrifice of women as much as it did men.
The other representations were male, men at war.
The council were all men. As the Ladies Auxiliary raised most of the money for those statues, they were really supportive of it. They were definitely agreed that it was a great thing. Only days before the building opened, they put them in. People realised they'd arrived, so there was people just looking through those front windows. There's photographs of them with their noses up against the glass looking at the statues.
They sat very proudly looking directly at the town hall clock.
The other criticism was that they were looking towards the sky. Dadswell said, well, you haven't seen the whole thing yet. They ran a competition to find the best motto, I suppose, for above the statues. It was won by a woman. For her efforts, she won a refrigerator. It was 1957. It was a very fancy refrigerator. And she was pretty happy, I think.
I think it's a sculpture that's really close to people's hearts, that really is a symbolic memorial to the fallen and the people left behind.
They make that building because they form such a dramatic entry to it, and they're a great work.
It's called Figure Group, which is a really boring name, really. The rest of the city called them him and her, and they've called them him and her ever since. Outside the front doors are 2 panels, sandstone panels, representing what was going to be in this building: the library, the art gallery and the Conservatorium of Music. In the top right-hand corner is a selfie by Paul Beadle, who put them together. Underneath there's artworks, so showing an artist easel, children doing their homework. The other panel shows the Conservatorium and some of the instruments that people would be playing. Paul Beadle was the teacher in charge of the art school in Newcastle. He's had sculptures all over Australia. At the American Consulate in Canberra, he has sculpted a large eagle and eventually went to New Zealand, and I guess he's filled that up with sculpture as well. After a while, the library started to take over the entire building. The Art Gallery moved out and the Conservatorium of Music moved out to their own buildings. The ground floor is library. It's a contemporary library service now, so we have all sorts of interesting things that you can borrow, not just books. It's not just about books anymore. We've got a large gallery on level 2 and a small gallery as well, which is a local history gallery. It's reasonably quiet now that the conservatorium's gone because you used to be able to hear the beginner violinists